Wide Angle Vital Signs. I'm Brendon Fallon. Summer is well and truly here, at least where I am in New York, getting outdoors, hitting the beach, gazing at the blue skies, soaking up the sun. That's the ideal, but how close is it to reality? How many of us are actually getting out there to bask in the summer sun? Well, probably not that many if this study funded by the Environmental Protection Agency is anything to go by. It found that Americans spend 93% of their lives indoors. That's 87% in buildings and 6% in cars. How much sun do you get?
How much sun? I want to say like maybe an hour or two maximum.
9 a.m. till 7 here, so quite a lot.
Ooh, well, because I work in an office, some days maybe 20 minutes. I try to do like a sunrise to get the sun.
I feel like not enough. I stay inside most of the time, so yeah.
Why is that? Is there something preventing you from getting as much sun as you'd like?
No, I'm just lazy, so I just stay inside.
Many of us simply move from one large rectangular box to another one. Our home, the office, maybe the gym, in our car or in the subway. Throughout the day, there's minimal time for sunlight. Then there's those of us patently avoiding the sun in the name of safety. But could this be to our detriment? Are the costs of missing sunlight in our lives outweighing the benefits? And does the sun really pose the dangers we've been led to believe? Where I come from, sunny Western Australia, we were versed from day one in the dangers the sun allegedly poses.
The sun's shining down, so desperate to brown. But skin cancer isn't so hot, no it's not.
Animation has certainly come a long way since Sid the Seagull. Back home, the sun has a potency that seems to penetrate your very bones. There in summer, more than 15 minutes of direct sun exposure, and I knew I'd be coming home with some kind of solar injury. My main man, Hugh Wolverine Jackman, he was born in Sydney, but he went to acting school in Western Australia. This could account, at least in part, for the brushes with skin cancer he's had over the past decade. In 2016, he posted this shot of himself on Instagram, writing, "This is what happens when you don't wear sunscreen." Hugh has reportedly been treated 6 times for skin cancer, albeit basal cell carcinoma, or BCC, said to be the least dangerous of the skin cancers. BCC is one of the 3 most common types of skin cancer. It's so named because it starts in basal cells, cells which create new skin cells, as old ones die off. So that's the least dangerous type. Others are melanoma and squamous cell carcinoma, or SCC. You can see their relative penetration of the skin here. Squamous cell carcinoma, or SCC, is the second most common skin cancer to BCC. Lighter skinned people are most likely to get it. It can also take hold in darker skin. Places that get frequent sun exposure like the face, neck, arms, chest, back, and rim of the ear tend to get SCC. It can grow deep into the skin and cause damage and disfigurement. Early diagnosis and treatment can prevent this. When the cells which give our skin its color become cancerous, we call it melanoma. Why is it the most dangerous? Because it has a tendency to spread. It can start with a pre-existing mole on your skin. It can also start as a suddenly appearing dark spot that looks different from the rest. Now that I've scared you into never stepping foot into broad daylight ever again, let me tell you that the science isn't completely settled on this subject, at least in terms of melanoma. There are widely diverging views on the role of the sun. On this topic, I'm fortunate to speak with Dr. Roger Seheult, who's an associate professor of medicine at UCRI. Dr. Seheult, it's a great pleasure to have you join us on Vital Signs today.
Thank you so much.
Firstly, the sun gets a lot of bad press. There are many websites that connect the deadliest form of skin cancer, melanoma, to sun exposure. What's your take on this?
Yeah, there was a very large study that was done in southern Sweden, actually, where they picked about 30,000 women in southern Sweden at random, and they followed them prospectively for about 20 years. And what they found was actually very interesting. They found that those women that had sun avoiding exposure actually had a higher mortality than those that went freely out into the sun. There's been a number of studies that have actually looked at this. It's kind of a paradox. We think that being in the sun is going to expose us to more deadly radiation that could raise our incidence of cancer. But a number of studies, large studies, and actually very well-designed studies, have shown quite the opposite.
What would it be in sun exposure that would be preventing or curtailing the risk of melanoma?
So we have the infrared spectrum, which is beyond red, and we have the ultraviolet. And we've talked about ultraviolet as being a little bit more dangerous in terms of causing mutations, but also very beneficial in terms of making vitamin D in your skin. The near infrared spectrum is an area of very hotly looking at information and research right now, because near infrared radiation has been shown in a number of studies in a number of areas to be beneficial to our skin and to be beneficial to our body. It increases nitric oxide when it's emitted. Lasers that use near infrared radiation are now being shown to improve activity, potentially reduce dementia.
When you talk about infrared, I remember thinking back to my grandmother, and she had, this is going back probably to the 80s, and I remember she had this really old infrared lamp. I'm not sure if she ever used it, but I know that she was given this by a doctor for some kind of treatment. This does ring a bell, the kind of health benefits of infrared.
Yeah, so if we talk about those benefits of infrared, not to get too technical, but inside of each of our cells is a powerhouse. There's a generator, and that's called the mitochondria. Now, just like engines in our car, the engines produce locomotion, but they also produce a byproduct, which is heat. And if you don't deal with that heat in the engine, as you know, it can shut your engine down. These mitochondria produce energy for the cells so you can be alive and live, but they also produce something called oxidative stress. And if this oxidative stress isn't dealt with, there's a growing body of research that shows that this oxidative stress can cause diabetes, hypertension, a lot of the diseases that we see in Western societies. Not only that, but also dementia. And this oxidative stress has also been tied to things like COVID-19 mortality.
This oxidative stress, this is like the heat in the engine, like it's overheating the engine in this analogy.
That's exactly right. And this oxidative stress can actually damage the mitochondria, and poor functioning mitochondria, poor functioning powerhouses means that the cell is not going to get the energy that it needs, it's not going to metabolize well, and you become a sick individual.
How does the sun fit into this?
Exactly. So what they're proposing, based on a number of research articles, is that near infrared radiation penetrates deep down through the skin layers and actually causes the increased production of melatonin. Now, you may say, I've heard of melatonin before. What's melatonin?
This helps you to sleep, right? I know people
exactly.
take this to help them sleep.
Exactly. Melatonin is something that people take to sleep. We used to think that it was only secreted in the pineal gland in the brain. It came on at night. All of those things are true. But what we're finding out, which is even more amazing, is that 20 times more melatonin is produced in the body, in the mitochondria, right on site, to mitigate this issue that we deal with called oxidative stress. And so melatonin mops up the oxidative stress. Melatonin is the cooling system. Melatonin is the oil pump. It's the water pump. It's the thing that keeps the engine cool and running effectively.
How do we get more melatonin? What's the key to that?
Yeah, so you can't ingest it. A lot of people think, oh, I just buy some melatonin and ingest it. This is made on site, right there where the heat is, right there where the heat in the engine is. The way you get more of it is to get more near infrared radiation. And 53% of the energy coming from the sun is in the form of infrared radiation. So getting outside more is really important. You cannot get near infrared radiation from LED lights. You cannot get near infrared radiation from windows where the sun is coming in, especially with the new low E glass. You actually have to get outside. The good news is, though, Brendon, is that you don't have to actually be directly in the sun. You can actually be outside. This near infrared radiation, we feel it on the sun as heat. You know, if you go outside, you have a t-shirt on and you feel that sun on your back, that heat that you feel is actually near infrared radiation penetrating down through your skin into your body and stimulating your heat receptors.
I think a lot of people, their time outside is they're walking to work or coming back in the evening or the late afternoon, and they're often in the shade, but you're saying that doesn't cancel out the benefits of infrared radiation. You're still getting some benefit from the sun at this time.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, 200 years ago in American society, we spent 50% of our lives outside. And we didn't have these types of diseases that we saw back then of dementia, diabetes. We're seeing an increase just in the last 50 years. And I don't have an argument with the dermatologists on this. Cover up. It's fine. Wear a wide brim hat. You don't have to be in direct sun exposure, but getting outside and getting into near infrared light is good for you.
It just feels healthy, right?
It does.
Clearly, sunlight plays a powerful role in regulating our melatonin, which factors into so many things like immunity and how we sleep at night. What about the sun and vitamin D?
Get out in the sunshine and get vitamin D. I'm good for your eyes and I'm good for your bones.
My relationship with vitamin D goes way back to my boyhood and that brilliant commercial which impressed deeply in the minds of all Aussie kids the value of vitamins and minerals. I still sing it in my sleep.
Just ask your mum today. I'm vitamin A.
It's a catchy tune. Everyone knows that getting sun equals getting vitamin D. However, less people probably know why vitamin D is so important. You might think getting more sun-induced vitamin D sounds good, but I can probably get by without it. You might think again, though, when you understand the broad spectrum of what it does. Let's go into that with Dr. Jingduan Yang. He's the founder of the Young Institute of Integrative Medicine, combining Western and Chinese traditional medicine. Dr. Yang, welcome to Vital Signs.
Thank you for having me.
I'm interested from a traditional Chinese medicine perspective. How is the sun seen? What kind of benefits does the sun have in terms of Chinese medicine?
Well, the circadian rhythm in nature and inside the human body are extremely important in traditional Chinese medicine. Almost like there is corresponding sunlight inside us as well as we have it outside us. And in Chinese medicine, we're talking about the circulation of the energy we call qi and the blood circulation as well. They're moving almost same rhythm as the sun circulating through 24 hours kind of rhythm. So therefore, every 2 hours, there is a sunlight, benefiting different part of the body and different part of the organ that regulates our everyday activities and also every night's sleep.
So we have an internal sun inside of us with these different processes, I imagine, like metabolism and sleep. And if that corresponds to what's happening with the sun outside, then it harmonizes us. Is that roughly the idea?
Absolutely. The human being is a part of the nature. Therefore, we have to live a life according to the rhythm or law of the nature. So I always advise young people who like to stay up late and sleep during the day. I said, don't be the enemy of the sun. It's not going to be good for you. And so when we're living life according to the rhythm of the nature, and we have the best chance to stay healthy.
Right. That makes sense, why fight nature. One thing I know that we crucially get from the sun is the stimulation of vitamin D. How is that factored into your practice? Do you come across patients with vitamin D deficiency? What are the signs of that?
Well, in my patient population who come to me for chronic fatigue, for depression, anxiety, and trouble sleeping, 95% of them, even more, have a vitamin D deficiency.
Wow, that's an enormous amount.
Right. Of course, it doesn't represent the general population, but however, even with the general population, we know over 60, 70% people are vitamin D deficiency. So we really have a pandemic of vitamin D deficiency, and that's why it is so hard for us to fight the pandemic of, COVID, because vitamin D is extremely important for almost every aspect of our biological function and the immune system.
Where does it factor into COVID? How does vitamin D help the body to stave off a COVID infection?
Well, vitamin D, of course, we know that we get it through the sunlight and it will produce in the cells of our skin. Then it went into our liver to be transformed and to the kidney to be activated into a, we call it active vitamin D. All our cells, blood cell, the white blood cells and the lymph cells, and they all have the receptor of vitamin D. So vitamin D regulates our immune functions and either reduce inflammation and or the control the level of inflammation we can have, because we need both inflammation and anti-inflammation in order to protect ourselves.
I'm interested to know, with your background in psychiatry, you must be coming across patients with mental health issues that might be related to a lack of sunlight or specifically vitamin D deficiency. How are you dealing with those cases in terms of compensating people's lack of sunlight?
There are studies shows that having a good natural sunlight will reduce the symptoms of dementia and will improve depression. And people who have depression, the study shows that they will have a shorter hospital stay if they sleep on the side that has more natural sunlight. It was interesting. It also helps people who have a dementia. And if you give them more daylight, they're able to remember things better, and they have a better mood. Particularly, they'll be less restless and anxious.
That's very interesting, Doctor. I wonder, do you have an example that you can think of a patient who's come to you with some kind of issue like this, maybe a mental health problem?
One example is a young high school student and who came in because extreme difficulty to focus, concentrate, and also highly anxious. And we tested his blood, and including vitamin D3, and his number like 12. I mean, you need to be above 50 to 100 to be optimal, but his number was 12. Vitamin D deficiency, if we don't correct it, it's impossible to help him. So therefore, we supplement him like 5,000 international units a day, and we have done that for 3 months, together with other supplementation of nutrients like zinc, vitamin B6, and he has got so much better. And he had a score of 34 out of 36 of his ACT tests.
I think that's very encouraging. A lot of our audience, I think, will be very encouraged to hear that. Thanks again for coming on, Dr. Yang. Fantastic to speak to you.
Thank you, Brendon.
The sun's benefits are virtually endless. What's your relationship with the sun like? Have you been burned or have you been boosted?
I was in Thailand and I ended up having to go to the doctors because I had 3rd-degree burns on my arms. They were really bad and it turned all scaly, and it was horrific, and it took months to heal.
You can see I'm a little fair-skinned, so if I get too much sun, I burn really easily. So
you should definitely put sunscreen on your face. Actually, one time when I was in Costa Rica, I put sunscreen everywhere on my face except for right here, and I got a 2nd-degree burn right on the side of my forehead. The hair still isn't really growing back in that area, so it's definitely not fun when you get.
The sun always makes me feel happy, grateful, a lot of gratitude, especially when you see like the beauty of a sunrise.
Clearly the benefits of sunlight to the body and to the mind are enormous. So knowing that, how much sunlight is enough? Some researchers say 5 to 30 minutes between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m., either daily or at least twice a week, to the face, arms, hands, and legs will cover your vitamin D needs. But this is not a one-size-fits-all situation. There are a bunch of things that need to be factored in, like the season, time of the day, cloud cover, your skin color, whether you're wearing sunscreen or not, what type of sunscreen. These all influence how much UV or ultraviolet radiation you receive, and also how much vitamin D is going to be synthesized. And when you're out there catching your rays, you also need to think about how you're going to protect yourself. So how do we safely get sunlight? To answer that, it's important to know a little bit about UV rays. These come in 3 forms: UVA, UVB, and UVC. UVA has the longest wavelengths, UVB has shorter wavelengths, and UVC has the shortest wavelengths. UVA and UVB pass through the atmosphere, while UVC and some UVB are absorbed by the ozone layer. So most of the UV rays we get are UVA with a little UVB thrown in. UVB's short wavelength means it reaches the outer layer of your skin. UVA's longer wavelength means it can penetrate your skin's middle layer. So which one causes skin cancer? Both UVA and UVB can trigger skin cancer, but the jury appears still out on which one plays the bigger role. Some say UVB because it hits the outer surface of the skin, causing tanning and burning. And repeated sunburn increases the risk of skin cancer. Others say UVA plays a bigger role, as it penetrates the skin more deeply. This is why it causes aging, such as photoaging or wrinkling. An Epoch Times reader wrote in with an intriguing story which supports more the UVA argument. She said that each of her brothers had to have an ear removed due to skin cancer. She added in both cases it was the ear struck by light coming through the car window as they went to and from work. This was over 60 to 70 years. Now, sidecar windows are typically made from tempered glass, and tempered glass blocks 60 to 70% of UVB, but not UVA at all. So the culprit here is most likely UVA. To help demystify these and other sunscreen enigmas, I caught up with skincare and beauty specialist Felicia Lee. Felicia, you've got this very popular, fantastic show that teaches everyone about how to look after their skin and be beautiful and their general well-being called
Beauty Within.
Check it out.
Tell me more, Brendon.
Slap, slip on a shirt, slap on sunscreen and slap on a hat.
So that was my introduction to the dangers of the sun and what we should do about it back in the day.
Yes.
You came from the same part of the world as me.
Yes.
Does this ring a bell?
Of course, I think like the beach is synonymous with every Australian's childhood growing up. At school, you're like, if you don't put on sunscreen, you'll have cancer. And then two, it's like, oh, the pristine beaches, who cares?
Yeah, have you ever been seriously burnt?
Oh yes, I think you can't call yourself an Australian if you haven't severely been burnt.
The sun is the greatest threat.
Yes, it's the one thing that can really just age your skin, even overnight, to look either like leather by the time you're 50, or you're like a plump grape. And all of that really does come down to how you take care of yourself, including obviously skincare.
How do different skin colors factor into what you should be doing to protect your skin?
So we're all born with a certain skin tone and a certain skin type. So tone really refers to our melanin. And there's something called the Fitzpatrick scale, or the Fitzpatrick skin test, which has different levels from pale all the way to darkest skin types. But depending on where you sit on this scale, you'll have a different range of like safe sun protection.
Right.
So you'll notice if people with really, really fair skin, they sit outside in the sun for a minute and they're like a lobster. Whereas someone with more olive skin, like for me, I can go outside for maybe 10 minutes, not suggested, without sunscreen and still not burn, right? So that all of that really plays into your natural melanin production. So it doesn't matter where you sit, you still have to find a sunscreen to match your skin type, your skin tone, your lifestyle, and then find the texture that suits you.
So where do we get started with making this choice about what sunscreen is right for your particular skin type? Where does the journey begin?
So for example, if I have oily skin, maybe I want to look for a sunscreen like this that has SPF 30 protection, and it's also got mattifying ingredients. So that not only protects my skin from the sun, but it also helps regulate that sebum production on my skin so I don't look like a grease ball at the end of the day.
Sebum?
Sebum. So sebum is our skin's natural oil, and you want something to neutralize that, so something like this can work. Whereas someone with really dry skin, maybe you want to find a sunscreen that's almost like a moisturizer that can give you a nourishing, protected feeling, whilst also giving you that sun protection. So for us, what we found talking to a bunch of skincare developers, CEOs, they just say, find a sunscreen that you will actually use.
I've got, I think, pretty dry skin, so is there something here that would work for me?
Yeah, I feel like something like this combines a moisturizer with a sunscreen with a little bit of a tint. It helps to give you an even layer. So if you want to try this, yes. So we like to put it on the outside of the hand, and you see this has a very universal but very lightweight consistency.
I was expecting my skin to change color there because of the tinting of it, but thankfully it hasn't.
Yeah, so you can barely even tell it's on. But one thing to note is that these tinted ones sometimes are formulated to cover for the zinc ingredient.
Right, and this isn't like the zinc from childhood days with the bright fluorescent orange.
It's exactly that zinc.
It's the same thing. You can imagine this could be a danger if the classic actor George Hamilton, or I had this experience myself as a teenager on the beach. My uncle worked for Clinique and he brought back some samples, and it turned out this sunscreen was tinted. It was a little bit traumatic. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's the fun of skincare. I think a lot of it really is just testing, and maybe you'll realize tinted sunscreen is just not for you. But that's an option, so that streamlines maybe 3 steps in one. And then you'll get, depending on your skin type, this is from Dermalogica, and it adds different ingredients to help control oil production, because we don't want to look shiny and like a glazed pig or glazed
like something that's going to be cooked.
Yes. And it will help to neutralize that shine effect if you have really oily skin or combination skin, or if you sweat a lot, things like that. So that's another type. This is my current favorite, and I want to show you this one. They're just really good at making the texture feel as though it's just water. So on the top of the hand, this is how skincare people try products. It's just like it dissolves, right? And it just makes it even more of a joy to use every day. And that's really the goal.
We also know there's 2 different types of UV rays that we need to be concerned about. There's UVA, UVB.
So when you're looking for a sunscreen, all you really need to focus on is that it has the label broad spectrum and you'll also find SPF with a number. So broad spectrum is the catch-all term for your sunscreens. It's protecting you from the rays that can potentially harm our skin, so UVA and UVB.
So do we need a separate type of sunscreen for each of these? Do we need to walk around with 2 layers of sunscreen to protect ourselves? Or?
So if you open your sunscreen and apply it onto 2 fingers, that is a good standard for covering just your face.
I know a lot of these SPF 30 plus, I see that around a lot. So does that mean you've only got 30 minutes protection and then you're going to fry, or you've got to reapply?
You'll be a crisp. No, so the SPF 30, for example, is how long it can protect you without your skin burning. So, when you wear sunscreen, it's not that it's going to protect you from getting darker. It's just going to help you from frying and burning, right? So let's say I can be in the sun with my skin type and skin tone for about 10 minutes without burning. And I pick an SPF 30 sunscreen. So the general way you can think of it is 10 times 30. So I have 300 minutes of protection. And then this also depends on how active you are, if you're sweating outside, if you're rubbing against certain things, if you're sweating and kind of moving your face around.
If you're swimming?
Yeah, if you're swimming, exactly. That will all play into it, and you'll probably want to reapply earlier, but the general rule of thumb is every 2 hours to reapply another layer if you're outside.
What is the best way to put this stuff on so it's going to have maximum effectiveness and still look
decent? So when you find your favorite sunscreen, you just want to apply it all over the face from the top of the forehead all the way down to your neck and even clavicle area, because this is also prone to aging. You can see aging on your neck and your chest very early on as well if that's not protected. One thing I will say is to avoid applying the sunscreen right up into your eye area, especially with chemical sunscreens, because it can sting. So if you rub your eye throughout the day accidentally and you forget, that sting will prolong for about 30 minutes, and it's just incessant tears that you can't stop. So I would say avoid the eye area. You don't have to go too close.
Right. Don't try this at home, kids. We have an alternative, though. We have, of course, sunglasses if you want to look after your eyes in the sun. And I bought a few samples in today.
Whoa! Funkadelic. That is 70s vibes.
Yeah, we know that yellow lenses are very popular in the ski, right? In the snow. Oh, yeah. They say that yellow lenses are good because they improve contrast. You can see things. You can see things better with yellow lenses. It's the same with rose-colored lenses.
Interesting. You're very fashion forward, I must say. I have never tried these before. It looks as though I got drowned in cordial.
They always told you see the world through rose-colored lenses, right?
Oh, yeah.
And now it's undeniable. These have a similar function to the yellow in that you can wear them driving. They're going to help with contrast, but they're not going to cut out a lot of light. So you wouldn't want to wear these on a really sunny day, maybe an overcast day or a cloudy day where you want to see things a bit more distinctly. You could go with the red. Then we have the catch-all, the gray lenses. Most people would have a pair of these. These will dim light, but they're not going to distort colors. They're not going to distort shapes or things like that, and that's why they're popular. They're probably the most used lens color. Great for driving, for cutting out glare, but they're not going to enhance the contrast and things like that. For maximum protection, you want to be looking for UV 400 plus. That's going to cut out 99 to 100% of the UV rays, so that's your safest bet.
And will they have a little sticker with that on there?
Most likely.
Okay.
We've covered sunscreens. You've given us some great information about that, Felicia, and a few options there. We've talked about sunglasses and also looking at lens color and UV protection factor. Thank you so much for coming on and lending your expertise to this topic, and hope to do it again sometime soon.
Thank you for having me.
Why not take the opportunity to safely catch some rays? You don't need to wear a swimsuit. You don't need to lie on the beach to get sun. Mowing the yard, taking a walk, or riding your bike in shorts and shirt can get the same beneficial vitamin D. Just remember, if you're doing it for more than 20 minutes, take protective measures. Slip, slop, slap, as we were taught down under back in the day. This is Wide Angle Vital Signs, and I'm Brendon Fallon.